Our top story tonight, Christian McCaffrey headed to injured reserve. He's going to miss the next 4 weeks minimum. What does that mean for fantasy football? We're also going to talk Tua Tagovailoa concussion. It's a terrible, terrible story. What is his future? What does that mean for fantasy football? We got that. We got other top stories. We got injuries we're going to talk about ahead of week 2. We got some stats for you, some nuggets. We got a lot tonight on tonight's show on breaking fantasy football. All right, Christian McCaffrey headed to IR. Welcome into Breaking Fantasy Football. I am Alex Johnson. What are we going to do? Well, we know the answer. Jordan Mason is a stud in the meantime while we wait for Christian McCaffrey to return. But McCaffrey's going to, like I said, he's going to miss minimum 4 weeks. The team's going to reevaluate after 4 weeks. He's got that calf. He's got that Achilles tendonitis going on. That's one of these things that can feel like it's gone. You're recovered, and then all of a sudden, just like that, it's back. So the team is just going to play it safe with Christian McCaffrey, as they should. He's the stud. He's the star of the team. They're a good team without him. They can win at this point in the season without him. Now, the next 4 games, the games that he is going to miss, it's going to be the Vikings in week 2, the Rams in week 3, Patriots, and the Cardinals. And then we're looking at a possible like mid to late return in October, best case scenario. So like I said, we're going to keep rolling with Jordan Mason until that time. Our next story tonight is Tua Tagovailoa. We all saw that concussion Thursday Night Football. It's terrible. He's now suffered 4 concussions since September 25th of 2024. That's 2 years, 4 major concussions for Tua Tagovailoa, and those are just the recorded ones. And we know players, they get concussions all the time. They're not reported. So who knows if there are more in there. And according to Jeff Miller on Twitter, a neurologist is going to need to clear him for return to the sport with knowledge of those 3 prior concussions. And that's a big deal. Are they even going to return him? Are they even going to clear him to return anytime soon? And if you look back at the last one that he suffered back at the end of the 2022 season, he suffered that on Christmas Day of 2022. He wasn't cleared for football until February of 2023. Now, obviously, the Dolphins season was over. He wasn't playing football in February 2023, but he couldn't have played until then. He was not medically cleared to return until that point. So now he's got this 4th one in 2 years, another significant one. Is it going to be another 2 months before he gets cleared again? Is it going to be less? Is it going to be more? We don't know. And then, of course, we have the factor of, is he even, once he's cleared, if he's cleared, is he even going to want to play football again? This is a conversation that he has to be having right now within himself, with his coaches, with his teammates, and with his family, because there are a lot more things in this life than football, and you want to be around for it, and you want to have the right headspace down the line. When you're an older person, you want to be able to have a good quality of life, and you keep getting these multiple severe concussions over and over and over again. That's going to jeopardize that quality of life. So obviously, we're wishing the best for Tua Tagovailoa. We'll talk a little bit more about what that means for fantasy football a little bit later in the show. But what it does mean for the Dolphins is right now it's Skylar Thompson starting at quarterback for the foreseeable future. Now, according to Pro Football Talk, the Dolphins can recover up to about $49 million of his $167 million guaranteed on his latest contract. And that would come through insurance. But obviously, that's the last thing on their mind at this point is the money. We just want Tua Tagovailoa to be healthy. Our next story is Hollywood Brown, Marquise Brown. He is also headed to IR. along with Christian McCaffrey. He's going to undergo surgery to repair a dislocated SC joint. He suffered this injury in the preseason. I think it was preseason game 1. Thought he was going to be back maybe week 1, week 2, week 3. He missed week 1, and then things just got to the point where it's like, you know what, we're going to have to do surgery. And according to Jordan Schultz on Twitter, he's an NFL insider. He says after multiple imaging studies, it was determined that although Hollywood was feeling better, his injury was not healing correctly. And without that corrective surgery, he would risk a more serious long-term injury. So the surgery is scheduled for Monday in Colorado. The Chiefs monitor his rehab progress at that point throughout the season. And Dr. Evan Jeffries on Twitter, he added, "This is not an easy rehab and more than likely will be a 3 to 4 month recovery. And he's possibly out for the season." Andy Reid added to that, "This is going to be months, not weeks for Hollywood Brown." And then right before we went live tonight, Adam Schefter tweeted out that Hollywood Brown is not expected back for the regular season. Maybe he could come back for the playoffs, but right now he's not going to make it for the regular season. So Hollywood Brown officially droppable in fantasy football. Moving on, Drake Maye getting first team reps at Patriots practice. Head coach Gerard Mayo says that the first team quarterback reps are currently being split about 70-30 between Jacoby Brissett and Drake Maye. Gerard Mayo said, "We have a development plan for Drake Maye, and this is part of it." He also added, "Drake Maye's doing a good job, and you can see his confidence continuing to grow." So at some point, we are going to get Drake Maye starting games, playing games as the quarterback for the Patriots. I said this in the preseason. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when Drake Maye is on the field. Now, with how bad that offensive line is in New England, we kind of want to just let that thing gel, let that thing come together, let him develop in practice, let him get those first team reps, let him, become more comfortable. He's got a lot of footwork, mechanics and such to work on coming out of college. And you really don't want to put him behind a terrible offensive line because all of those footwork things that he's been learning throughout the offseason, throughout training camp, throughout preseason and practices or in the season, he's going to forget them. He's going to go back to his natural ways. He's going to go back to his old ways because he's going to be having to deal with, free rushers at all times. Now, I will tell you that the Patriots offensive line did look better than expected in week 1. Of course, they weren't throwing the ball a whole lot against the Bengals. They had to lead the whole game. They were just leaning on Ramondre Stevenson. So that is a good sign that they did exceed expectations in week 1. We'll see if that continues moving forward. But Drake Maye getting about 30% of the first team reps in practice right now. He is on track to at some point start games in 2024. And who is also starting games in 2024, he's going to start for the second week in a row, is Justin Fields. He's going to start tomorrow against the Broncos. Russell Wilson, not going to get the Russell Wilson against the Broncos revenge game. I know everybody was hyped for the Russell Wilson revenge game. It's not going to happen. He did travel with the team. Russell Wilson did travel with the team to Denver. Maybe he's active. Maybe he's the QB2. Maybe he's going to back up Justin Fields, but we are going to get Justin Fields for a second straight start tomorrow against the Broncos. All right, let's move on to the injury report. We got a lot of injuries already. I know it's only week 2, but we got to get to some injuries. We got a lot of them, unfortunately. Now, we'll start with Malik Nabers, the rookie wide receiver for the Giants. He's good to go. Brian Daboll said he's good, no concern. He fully practiced on Friday. Malik Nabers is going to be ready to play Sunday versus the Commanders. He did pop up on the injury report. There's a little bit of a scare there on Thursday. A little bit of a knee injury. That's always a concern when you see a knee injury middle of the week. But like I said, Brian Daboll said Malik Nabers, good to go. No worries there. He's not on the injury report. And then we saw on Thursday nights, Jeff Wilson, he suffered a little bit of an injury, but according to Ian Rappaport, it's not considered significant. It is an oblique issue, but like I said, Rap Sheet told us it's not a major one. We'll have to monitor that one going forward. Obviously, we'll see what's going on with Raheem Mostert. He was inactive on Thursday. Devon Achane seemed to have gotten through the game fine with his ankle injury. He was questionable coming in, but we'll monitor Raheem Mostert. We'll monitor Jeff Wilson moving forward. Now, ruled out this week is Jordan Addison with that ankle injury he suffered. He had an ankle injury in the preseason. I believe he suffered an injury to the other ankle in week 1. So he's going to be out this week. Then we got Keenan Allen with a heel injury. He came into that he came into week 1 with that, played through it, but we're unsure right now. He's questionable heading into week 2, as is his teammate Rome Odunze. He's got a knee injury. Now, one thing we got to look at is the Bears today. They did elevate a wide receiver, Colin Johnson. Remember him? He had that big Hall of Fame game performance, the first game of 2024. Colin Johnson elevated from the practice squad. Maybe that's a sign that at least one of these guys is in danger to miss Sunday Night Football against the Texans. We'll see about that. Jake Ferguson, we saw that knee injury. It looked like it was going to be catastrophic. When I saw it, I thought Jake Ferguson was done for the year. It looked like it maybe was an ACL. It looked significant. He was in significant pain on the ground there, holding his knee. But we did get good news. Obviously, it's not a season ender. He is doubtful, however, for week 2. He didn't practice all week. Kenneth Walker is also doubtful, running back in Seattle. He missed practice all week. And like I said, with the Bears, a sign that he's not going to play is they elevated a running back off of the practice squad today. They elevated George Holani. He's an undrafted free agent. He upped from the practice squad to the 53-man active roster today. So it's wheels up for Zach Charbonnet against the Patriots. So we're going to go wheels up. You're absolutely starting Zach Charbonnet as an RB2 wherever we can. Wherever we have Zach Charbonnet, he's going to play a significant role for the Seahawks. Now, an injury that popped up late in the week is A.J. Brown. He was limited in practice on Friday with a hamstring injury, and he was not seen at practice during the media portion of practice early on Saturday either. Now, the Eagles play on Monday night against the Falcons. So that adds an extra element of concern here. We are back. Internet issues here as usual. not sure what happened there, but we are back. All right, we were talking about A.J. Brown, Monday Night Football. He's questionable, popped up with a knee injury, or I'm sorry, hamstring injury late in the week. But we're concerned about that for Monday Night Football. We need to, I mean, obviously, with him playing on Monday night, we have less options to choose from on our bench. So if we're going to risk it and see if A.J. Brown's going to play, there are some possible waiver wire replacements if he's out. We're going to look for Darnell Mooney. We're going to look for Ray McCloud. These are both Falcons. Ray McCloud, he led the Falcons in targets and receptions and receiving in week 1. So he's a possible waiver wire pickup to replace A.J. Brown if he's out. We also have on the Eagles side, we got Jahan Dotson. And then if you can flex a player, if you can put A.J. Brown in your flex, give us a little bit more options there. Maybe Tyler Algier is available on your waiver wire. Otherwise, you might be able to find Kenneth Gainwell. He seems to have a little bit of receiving work, a little bit of third down, a little bit of 2-minute drill role there. So maybe he could give you a little bit of fantasy points. Obviously, we're not completely replacing A.J. Brown, unfortunately. Jameson Williams, he has an ankle injury. He was limited all week. He's questionable coming in. I would lean towards him playing. Like I said, he was limited all week. He didn't miss any days of practice. So that's generally a good sign that a player has a pretty good chance of playing. Jordan Love, he is doubtful. We saw that knee injury. Luckily, it's not a season ender, but it does look like he's not going to play in week 2. He didn't practice all week. So that means Malik Willis is expected to start in week 2. And the team did elevate Sean Clifford from the practice squad. He's going to be the backup this week to Malik Willis. Adam Thielen, he has a shoulder injury, popped up on the injury report Friday, but he did have a full practice that day. So it looks like he's going to be okay. T. Higgins, hamstring, didn't play in week 1. He didn't practice all week. He is doubtful the second straight week. I don't expect to see T. Higgins. David Njoku is out. He has an ankle injury. Maybe we can play a little Jordan Akins. If you're looking for a sleeper tight end, pick up Jordan Akins, see what happens there. He had some decent games back in the day when he was playing in Houston with Deshaun Watson. So maybe we get a little flash in the pan from Jordan Akins in replacement of David Njoku. Wide receiver Jaden Reed on the Packers. He's got a calf and a shin injury. He saw limited work on Friday. He's questionable coming in. Obviously, we saw that big boom performance in week 1. He was fantastic down there in Brazil. Obviously, he's also not going to have Jordan Love as his quarterback. So that's unfortunate. So he's a risky play. They're all risky plays, but if I'm going to play a Packers wide receiver this week, it is going to be Jaden Reed. I expect he's going to be fine with these injuries. Dalton Schultz, ankle injury. He missed Wednesday, but he was a full go on Thursday. I'm sorry, he missed Wednesday and Thursday, but he was full go on Friday. He should be good to go. Josh Downs was back at practice this week in a limited fashion, but he was full practice on Friday, which is a really good sign that he could be back and active for week 2. Remember, he suffered that ankle injury during training camp. He is questionable officially. I'm not that interested in playing him. 1, coming off the injury. 2, low volume passing offense. I don't expect we're going to be able to trust a guy like Josh Downs. He might have his weeks just like Alec Pierce had his week in week 1. We're going to have some Josh Downs weeks. We're going to have some Alec Pierce weeks. We're going to have some Adonai Mitchell weeks. The only guys I'm really trusting in that offense is Anthony Richardson, Michael Pittman, and Jonathan Taylor. And even then, none of them are, outside of maybe Richardson, are somebody I'm feeling super, super excited to start every single week. Josh Palmer has a knee injury. He was limited early in the week, but he missed Friday altogether. That's a bad sign when a player starts limited and then ends up out. We want them to start limited and then end up full. So that's a bad sign for Josh Palmer. Could be a nice Lad McConkey week. Palmer is officially questionable coming into week 2. Finally, we've got Tyler Lockett with a thigh injury and Noah Fant with a toe injury. They are good to go after full sessions on Friday. All right, let's move on to the ones to watch. We did talk a little bit about the Packers situation. Obviously, they're going to be without Jordan Love. But coming into the year, I was a big, I was a big Luke Musgrave drafter. I thought maybe he could be a breakout tight end. I still think he can be a breakout tight end. But right now, based on week 1 usage, it's looking like it might be Tucker Kraft in that Green Bay offense, who I also was drafting at the end of my drafts, because I do like Tucker Kraft. He looked good at the end of last year. He's got a nice athletic profile and production profile coming out of college. Now, looking at week 1, Tucker Kraft ran 30 routes in that game against the Eagles. It was about a 78-79% route participation rate, which is exceptional. That is elite, even for tight ends, especially for tight ends. Now, Luke Musgrave, on the other hand, he only ran 8 routes in that game, which was about 21% route participation rate. So clearly, Tucker Kraft is running as the tight end 1 in Green Bay, at least in week 1. And Tucker Kraft out-targeted Luke Musgrave with about an 8.6% target share. Musgrave had about a 5.7%. Obviously, 8.6% is not going to get us there for fantasy football purposes, but it's just a good sign for Tucker Kraft. If you drafted Tucker Kraft, I'm feeling really confident right now. We just got to ride out this period of time without Jordan Love and hope that eventually Love is healthy and Tucker Kraft is solidified as the tight end 1. And then maybe we can play him as a tight end 2 in fantasy. Cole Kmet, another tight end. He might be dead. Cole Kmet might be dead. Not in real life. He is alive and breathing. He's got a pulse. His heart is pumping. He's going to play football this weekend. But for fantasy purposes, Cole Kmet just might be dead. I warned you before the season. I said it. I don't know where I said it, but I said it on some show that Gerald Everett was going to be a problem for Cole Kmet. And then in week 1, we saw that Gerald Everett was, in fact, a problem for Cole Kmet. They both had the same number of targets in week 1, but Everett doubled Cole Kmet's routes. I think it was about 21-11 or something like that. So on top of having to deal with, obviously, all the added target competition in that offense anyway, DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Keenan Allen, even DeAndre Swift on the backfield, now Cole Kmet is also having to lose snaps and routes and targets to Gerald Everett at the tight end position. I'm considering dropping Cole Kmet in any league that I have him, which I don't. But if I did, I'd be considering dropping him for sure. He's an easy drop right now. There are plenty of players on the waiver wire I would rather have instead. I'm also looking ahead to week 2, and could we have a Malik Neighbors breakout game? Couldn't happen this week. He ran 100% of the routes in his debut in week 1. What rookie wide receiver comes in and runs 100% of the routes? Well, a real grown-ass man like Malik Neighbors does. And that's exactly what he did in week 1. Obviously, we got the quarterback situation with Daniel Jones. That's a big question mark. Big concern there. But they're going against a terrible Washington secondary. They're bad to begin with, and they also have the Emmanuel Forbes injury and so forth. This could be a get-right game for Daniel Jones, get-right game for the Giants passing attack, and this could absolutely be a breakout week for Malik Neighbors. I am starting him ahead of Marvin Harrison Jr. easily. One more rookie I want to look at for week 2 that could possibly break out. And he actually had a little mini breakout in week 1, and that is Jalen McMillan of the Buccaneers. He led all Buccaneers wide receivers in both snap share with 82% of the snaps and routes run. He ran about 30 routes in week 1. That was more than Mike Evans. It was more than Chris Godwin. He's playing as the wide receiver 3 in that offense. He's going to play as they moved Chris Godwin back into the slot. They got Mike Evans on one side at X, and they got Jalen McMillan on the other side. So he's out there a lot. They're running a ton of 11 personnel. And in fact, Tampa Bay ran 11 personnel at the 4th highest rate in the NFL. So I expect Jalen McMillan is going to be on the field a ton. We're going to talk a little bit more about Jalen McMillan at another segment a little bit later in the show. Let's move on to the trends to know. I'm always about trends. I do a fantasy notebook article that comes out early on Tuesdays every week. After the week, I go through snap share, target share, route participation, air yards, all the usage stuff that we need to know from the previous week. And I put it all together in one spot, do all the research for you, pull out the nuggets that I find interesting. So check that out at yardsperfantasy.com. One of the things that I found this week is that, and this is actually from a tweet on Twitter from Jared Smola. Give him credit for this. We talked earlier in the show, Tua Tagovailoa, he's going to be out indefinitely, I'm expecting. Maybe he never plays again, I'm not sure. Obviously, we want what's best for him. However, that means Skylar Thompson is going to be the starting quarterback for the foreseeable future in Miami. And that is bad news. Bad news for anybody who used a top 3, top 5 pick on Tyreek Hill, or even planted their flag on Jalen Waddle in the 3rd round, because now we got a backup quarterback. And I want to give you this from Jared Smola on Twitter. In the 3 full games that Skylar Thompson and Tyreek Hill played together, going back 2 years ago in 2022, when we had those multiple concussions from Tua the first time, Tyreek Hill averaged 9 targets per game with Skylar Thompson at quarterback. That's a good number. We'll get there. However, he only averaged about 5.3 receptions and 46.3 receiving yards. That is very concerning. That is not going to get there for us for fantasy purposes if Tyreek Hill is averaging 46 receiving yards a game. And in those 3 games, he had 0 touchdowns with Skylar Thompson throwing the football. And then if we look ahead to Jalen Waddle, he averaged 5.3 targets per game, 3.7 receptions, and just 37 yards. And he also scored 0 touchdowns. That is terrible news. Now, obviously, that year, I believe Skylar Thompson was a rookie quarterback that year. So this 2 years ago. Maybe he's improved. Maybe he's better, but he's still Skylar Thompson. He's still a backup quarterback that we really don't have a lot of respect for as far as being able to propel our fantasy assets to the production that we need from them. So that's a big concern. One more trend I want to look at is Arthur Smith is officially gone from Atlanta. We knew this, right? But the usage reflected that in week 1. The good players in Atlanta are getting the role that they should be getting and that they were not getting in 2023. Even if the box score didn't necessarily reflect that in week 1, but Drake London, Darnell Mooney, Kyle Pitts, they all ran a route on 100% of Kirk Cousins' dropbacks. That's fantastic. They're on the field, guys. They're on the field. That's step 1. They're on the field. Arthur Smith didn't even have these guys on the field. It was friggin' Van Jefferson and who knows who else out there. These guys are on the field 100% of the routes. That's fantastic. And then we look in the backfield, Bijan Robinson. He played 89% of the snaps. He ran a route on 78.6% of the dropbacks, and he had a 19.2% target share. Now, he was only the RB19 on the week in PPR scoring, but this is elite usage from Bijan Robinson. We are back. Arthur Smith is gone. The Falcons, we want Falcons. As long as Kirk Cousins looks better than he did in week 1, we want Falcons on our fantasy team. They are going to be used properly. Hallelujah. Let's go. All right. Before we get out of here, I do want to go through a couple underdog plays, give you a couple underdog plays that I'm playing this week. I gave you 2 last week. We were 0 for 2, unfortunately. We were 0 for 2. However, one of the ones that I gave you was Khalil Shakir. We were going higher than 43.5 receiving yards. Guess how many receiving yards he had? 42. Like, come on. 2 more yards we would have hit on that one. So that's unfortunate. And then we also gave you, I believe it was Jaleel McLaughlin higher than, I believe it was 11.5 receiving yards higher than, and he only gave us 1. he had great usage. I just don't understand how it just didn't get there. He led in carries. He was on the field. He was getting the snaps. He was playing. He was running routes. He seems to have the role ahead of Javonte Williams. We'll see how that plays out. Javonte did take significantly more snaps, but Julian McLaughlin was getting the usage. Unfortunately, it didn't happen for us as far as going higher than 11.5 receiving yards. I thought that was easily going to happen. Unfortunately, it did not. So we are going back to it this week, and I'm going to give you, we talked about Jalen McMillan earlier. We're going to talk about him again for the same reasons. I'm expecting a possible breakout in week 2. I'm going higher than 29.5 receiving yards against the Lions. Like I said before, he went and he had that 32-yard touchdown in week 1. He was targeted on 2 other deep throws, though. One of them was just an overshot. It was an overthrow by Baker Mayfield. The other resulted in a defensive pass interference. So it could have been an even better debut performance from Jalen McMillan. This is a guy who was outproducing Rome Odunze 2 years ago at Washington. So we need to watch Jalen McMillan. You look at the matchup against the Lions. The Lions gave up 304 passing yards to the Rams last week. So I like Jalen McMillan higher than 29.5 receiving yards against the Lions. The other one I want to give you is Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers higher than 3.5 receptions. Now, he's got a tough matchup against the Ravens, but Brock Bowers was the tight end 3 in fantasy football in week 1. That was his debut performance. What happened to rookie tight ends don't produce? Rookie tight ends take a while to produce. Well, we saw that debunked last year, and now we're seeing it again this year with Brock Bowers. He was a tight end 3 in his first NFL game. Now, not only that, he had 6 receptions in week 1, so he nearly doubled his underdog line for week 2. He had a 24.4% target share, which was team leading, by the way. He led the team in targets and receptions. And that's just not any other team. That's a team that includes Davante Adams. A team with Davante Adams. Brock Bowers comes in as a rookie, and he leads that team in targets and receptions. He also ran a route on 77.5% of Gardner Minshew's dropback. So he's got an elite role. And this should be a pass-friendly game script going against the Ravens. I know it's a difficult matchup, but the game script should be in the favor of Brock Bowers. He's going to see a lot of targets. They're going to drop back quite a bit. So it's going to lead a lot of opportunity for Brock Bowers. Now, if you're going to play these on Underdog Fantasy, you can see it scrolling on the bottom of the screen here. On Underdog, we got a promo code. It's yards per, all one word, yards per. Go to Underdog, download the app. And when you use that promo code, they're going to give you a free pick'em. They're going to give you a free pick'em, and they're also going to match 50% of your deposit up to $1,000. Absolutely no reason not to take advantage of that. So go to Underdog, download the Underdog app, and use promo code YARDSPER, and they're going to hook you up. That's tonight's show. This was fun. I'll be back tomorrow at about 12:20 Eastern time. We'll go all the way up to kickoff, just answering start-sit questions. But stay right here on the channel. Stay right here on the channel. We're 5 minutes away from both Steven and Ryan, the Delaware Dynasty boys. They're going to go live on this channel, and they're going to answer all of your start-sit questions. It's going to be a lot of fun. But I appreciate everybody tuning in to this show tonight. It's a lot of fun. Thank you. This was fun. This was Breaking Fantasy Football.